They're an organization who seem to lobby student unions, trying to obviously influence their views and their behavior and their relationships with the Islamic society. And I successfully passed a motion in the big student meeting last year at KUSU against student rights, because student rights were inconsistent with their criticisms of speakers that they deemed to be extremists. And there was near enough exclusively Islamic societies. However, they opposed the National Union of Students speaker ban on anyone who's from the BNP. Do you see the inconsistencies here? It's, you can be extremist as long as you're not Muslim, but you can come up here with BNP and you can preach your intolerant views. And student rights have only recently been made, we've just been made aware that they're a pet project of the Henry Jackson Society, whose associate director is called Douglas Murray. He's a regular contributor to the Spectator magazine. And he has been on record as saying, conditions of Muslims in Europe needs to be made harder across the board. In what country, in what continent would you be able to, Bonnie Greer was talking about things that could be said many, many decades ago that you just can't say now. This was in the last 5 years, my dear guests. And he says this very openly, very publicly. And luckily, there was a mandate, we got the SU officers to release a public statement condemning them. Luckily, Will over here managed to write that piece. And the NUS recently passed a motion, the national body, passed a motion against the student union. And I would like to talk to you about a story that I suffered the other day. It was about 2 weeks ago. I was in North London and I was with my mother, who wears the Islamic headdress and things like that. And there was a guy who came past us and he said, "You guys are on benefits, you can't afford it," as we were looking into a shop window. My dear respected guests, can I shock you? Because you wouldn't believe who threw this at me. It was someone who possibly, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I didn't expect it from them, but it was someone in a wheelchair. So for someone who, the government are they're cutting disability student allowances, some people who are marginalized in various aspects of social life, I don't know, I just felt a bit betrayed, because we're all minorities in our own sense. So when he said that, usually you get taunts and things like that, but when I had that thrown at me, it did shake me a little bit. I don't know if you guys know this girl called Nahid Almenia. She was a Saudi Arabian student who came to study in England. She was from Essex, she was studying at Essex University, and she was killed. And the police, although they didn't want to say it, but they did mention it on Sky News, said there's a possibility she was killed for wearing the long Islamic dress and her headscarf. And one of the staff members here was just talking about, I was reading the memo, as Bonnie Greer said, and it was talking about, and Rashid made me aware of the attack that international students are getting. And I've just been reading through this thing, and it was talking about how they're going to be monitoring students more vigorously. Not because just to make sure they're going to their lessons or anything like this, but it's just to make sure that, just monitoring them for the sake of monitoring them. And this is a sense of persecution, really. And it's a violation of trust between students and the university, because obviously they made assurances that they wouldn't do this. And working on the enrollment team for the past few years, I've seen the amount of students that we do bring in to the international students we bring into King's University. And most of them come from as far afield as India, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Indonesia, things like that. And the way I'm linking this is there's a large proportion of people that subscribe to Islam and that are Muslims. And I'm going to finish on this final few points, is as of 2013, 15% of students at King's University self-identified as Muslim, okay? 15%, so that's just under about 1 in 5 people, okay? These are people who, and I believe there's a discourse from the media, things like that, to try and divide us. But what they don't know is King's University, and I'm proud to say, we are quite diverse, and we're proud of the diversity that we have. And we look at those things that bring us together, as opposed to those that divide us. And one message I will leave to you guys is, please, 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 don't succumb to the pressure of even the three major political parties, there has been a massive lurch to the right. Immigration is now a taboo word where now when you say it, you can't discuss it. When you're discussing it, are you against, are you for immigrants or this and that? To say that you support immigration is saying that you support someone stealing your money or this and that. They just make it sound so vile. But immigration flourishes society. It flourishes our university. Kingston University will not be as vibrant as it was if we did not have international students, my dear respected guests. And I'm going to leave it on that note. And please, if you do have any questions, please forgive, let's not be too harsh because I've just made this up on the spot, okay? Thank you for listening attentively.